This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geeks, show number 655 with guest Erin Lawrence, recorded on August 7th, 2025. Here on Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all the favorite tech gadgets that find their way in your home. News, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the average tech guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the Average Guy TV studios here in a beautiful Bellevue, Nebraska. It's green and lush here. We've had lots of rain this year. Erin, how are things in your neck of the... Okay, by the way, thanks for all the smoke. Okay, you guys have sent
Sorry.
My gosh, can you just keep it there?
Blame Canada, right? Blame Canada. It's true. We do apologize for that. We apologize for a lot of things, so we might as well apologize for the smoke.
Sorry, right?
Sorry, sorry.
It's just ironic that it's, in times of tariff tensions that Canada is just sharing.
Oh, I like that. I never thought of it that way before, but I kind of do like that now.
Yeah, all right. Well, we will post the show with some world-class show notes, and there'll be a bunch from Erin, so you'll want to head over to the averageguy.tv and grab those show notes as you're listening. And a big thanks to everyone using the affiliate link that I've posted on the site now. Go to the averageguy.tv. We have an Amazon pass-through. Just click on it, and it'll set the cookie, and you're in. You need to do nothing else. Many of you have been doing that lately, so thanks for getting that done. And then, of course, for those of you who are on our Patreon account, thanks for all that you do. We just have one plan, super easy to jump in. If you want to be a Patreon subscriber, you can do it, theaverageguy.tv/Patreon, and jump in today. Big thanks to Gavin Campbell, who joined me last week. And Gavin, I got to admit, I know you're listening. RTF, I whiffed on this. We covered RTF Water Saver Sod. It's a new kind of grass. Erin, have you heard of RTF seed before?
No, seed, not like actual grass, not turf.
You can get it as sod, or you can buy the seed, but the seed is this special. He talked about it, and I don't know what I was thinking. I totally whiffed on it, but we're going to talk about robot, lawnmowers for you, but it's self-healing fescue. So it grows like fescue, but it sends out rhizomes. So instead of having to reseed all the time, most fescues don't reseed themselves really well. You got to cut the actual seeds off of them, but this has rhizomes that shoot their way out and self-repairs, and it's supposed to be super good. The crazy thing about it is, I heard a commercial. I've never heard of this grass before. You know how we always joke about when you talk about things on your phone, okay,
they're listening to you.
Yeah, starts showing up. I was listening to the radio. This wasn't even possible. I'm listening to the radio, and they start advertising for RTF grass. I was like, Gavin, you are amazing that somehow you got that on the show, and they're talking it on it. Anyways, Gavin, thanks for joining us last week. I whiffed on that. We should have talked more about the grass, and we didn't. But well, next time you're back on, we'll see how that's going. Erin, I want to share a graphic with you. On last week's show, we spent a little time talking about power tools and kind of the mafia that's around power tools. I don't know, like, if you've bought a drill, or if you think you're in a little bit in this space, you see there's this incredible market around batteries, right? I mean, DeWalt, Makita, Black & Decker, right? And there's all these brands doing all this stuff, and you kind of wondering, like, hey, who's who in this space? Like, how does this line up? And so Peter sent me an email this week, and he just said, Jim, I got to show you how the tool brands work out. So what I'm showing on screen right now is a graphic. Around the outside of this are the parent companies. And then you start digging in and looking at who owns what from that aspect, whether it's Makita or Milwaukee or MTD. DeWalt is another one. The company that owns DeWalt also owns Stanley, also owns Irwin, also owns Porter Cable, also owns Black & Decker, right? I mean, those are five. Yeah. So as you're thinking about
Husqvarna's in there.
Yeah, they're all. Yeah, it's just so when you think about the brand you're buying of the gadget, whether it's a saw or a drill or a lawnmower or a and this used to not be such a big deal in the lawnmower space, but as we were going to talk a little bit later here about robot lawnmowers, batteries are kind of becoming a thing, especially for the ones we push, right? Not so much for the robot versions, but a lot for the ones we push that are electric as well. So anyways, Peter, thanks for sending this graphic. It was a little bit of an eye opener as we think about the tool brand mafia that exists out there and all the things that go into batteries and purchasing batteries. Erin, the one thing we talked about last week, and I'll just reiterate, be very, very careful of where you buy your batteries, because if you're buying them on eBay or some of those sites, chances are they're counterfeit. And you would think,
right?
Really? Are we really?
I wouldn't think really. I would actually 100% believe that.
Yeah. Well, they're pretty expensive, and anytime something gets expensive, it finds a counterfeit. So it finds a place. Erin, welcome back. How are you doing? How are things in Canada? How are you doing?
Things are fantastic. I am great. Life is good. I have nothing to complain about. I've been super busy this season, testing a lot of stuff, writing a lot of articles and scripts and that kind of stuff. I took on a new project this season. I think we've talked in the past about my camper vans that my husband and I have built. Well, I bought a trailer in the spring and have decided to renovate that. So that's been a little slow going because it's mainly me, which for the first time I don't have like Roger's help, and Roger is kind of the engineer and the smart builder about all that stuff. I'm more like the light duty labor. So it's been really eye-opening for me having to teach myself how to do things and learn how trailers operate, because they're very different than camper vans in a lot of ways. So that's been keeping me busy. I'm putting together a little YouTube series, of course, on that whole process and that journey. So that'll be on the YouTube channel, probably starting in the next couple of weeks, youtube.com/Erin Lawrence TV.
Love that. Okay, so we're looking at your name tag over here. It now says techgadgetsinternational.com. Okay, for the longtime listeners, it's always been techgadgetscanada.com. I'm assuming both work, but seriously, international? If you broke out, are you breaking out?
I am breaking out. There's actually a lot of milestones happening this summer/fall. So one of them is I'm making more of a deliberate transition to using techgadgetsinternational.com, because though I am Canadian and, Canada's where it all started, the audience in the United States and international has started outpacing, well, not even started, it greatly outpaces the Canadian readership and viewership. Yeah. So I made the decision a little while ago to start making that move to just better reflect who the audience is. So yeah, Tech Gadgets Canada still works. Tech Gadgets International works. They kind of both point at the same site. If you know anything about, URLs and stuff, it's the same website, but it just more reflects the international nature of the viewers. And then the other big milestone that's about to happen is I'll be hitting 100,000 YouTube subscribers probably in the next 2 weeks, I think.
Nice. Okay.
So
well, maybe
I'm really stoked about that.
If we can help with that, why don't you head out to youtube.com/Erin Lawrence TV. And right, did I get that right? And then go ahead and subscribe on that. Let's boost her up to 100,000 subscribers.
That would be amazing. Thank you.
I think they deliver cake when that happens. I'm pretty sure somebody from YouTube, right? Isn't that
there is a plaque. You have to, I've been told that you have to, they send you an email and you have to kind of accept it, and then they'll send it to you, find out where to send it. But I am getting cake. I pre-ordered just this afternoon, cupcakes for the occasion for next week. So gonna have a little bit of a celebration. I'm also thinking about doing kind of like a live stream or an AMA, Ask Me Anything on the day I cross over, just to take the pulse of what's going on out there, get to know the audience a little bit better, and kind of celebrate with everyone who's helped get me here.
Right on. Well, I get to say, I remember when Erin Lawrence wasn't anybody.
Yep.
Now she's a big deal.
I'm still nobody, but
no. Oh, you're super famous. Brian says, congrats on your accomplishments.
Thanks, Thank
it's
you.
a lot of work, right? I mean, it's a ton of work. I mean, Home Gadget Geeks, we've been sporting 1,500 subscribers for a long time, and I don't push the YouTube channel very much. It's talking head stuff. Like your review format right now does really, really well. A lot of people are looking for that. I'm looking for it all the time. You know this. I'm not a review guy. That's not my gig. This is my gig, right?
Yeah.
Spending time, building community, talking to people, building communities that are healthy. I mean, we have a really, really healthy community here.
Warm and welcoming, friendly.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because we just don't allow it any other way. I mean, that's part of the thing is like, I'd rather have friendly people than a lot. And so we have the best listeners on the planet that come out here on Gadget Geeks. So it's super good. Well, congrats on all that. And best wishes in the future here. We'll continue to have, even when you're a big deal, will you come back on when I ask? Is that...
Absolutely. This is my favorite podcast. Sorry again to Uncle Marv.
He'll understand.
Poor Uncle Marv.
He's not even listening. It's fine. Erin, let's dig into what's going on over there. And I think the lawnmower you have, I think Gavin's got a version of this as well. Let me bring this in. It is the Segway Navimow. Is that it?
I've been calling it Navimow. I hope that's
okay. All right. You want to talk a little bit about
it correctly? Yeah. So I've started reviewing more robot lawnmowers because it just makes so much sense to me. So Segway reached out to me after they saw, I think, a couple of other lawn robot reviews I had done and offered me the opportunity to try theirs out. So Segway is not a brand I've ever had the opportunity to test or review yet. So completely new to me brand. Although they also sent me one of their e-kick scooters, one of their electric scooters, which I'm also reviewing. That's kind of what we
know them for, right?
Or those
Segway.
Upright scooters. Yeah. So that's all I knew about them. And I had no idea they had a robot lawnmower. So I was super excited to try it. The major selling point, I would say, of this robot lawnmower is no wires, which for anybody who's done research into this product category knows that's a huge deal. Most of the older generation of robots require you to delineate your yard, lay boundary wire, and either bury it or stake it into the ground. And the last time I did this with a Husqvarna lawn robot, it took us about 2.5 days to get that done. It's a lot of work. So with this one, it's pretty amazing. All you have to do really is connect it to your phone and then like joystick it around the yard and show it where the edges are. But this one actually goes one step further. It's so smart that once you sort of take it over, you drive it over to the edge of your lawn, it has enough recognition technology that it can go, okay, I think this is the boundary. And it'll just drive itself around the edges of your yard and then go, did I get it right? And it does. So mapping this one took me, no time at all. And I had a really accurate map of my yard. And then from there, it just cuts your lawn. Like you can set up a schedule. Everything with this one was so easy. It was so much fun. I made kind of a hilarious mistake, which for those who are seeing on YouTube, you can see it on the screen here. I couldn't actually get it to drive. So your phone turns into a joystick for this robot and you drive it, like I said, across your lawn. So I couldn't get it to go. And I finally realized I'm trying to drive it backwards because the bigger wheels on it, it's got these really big, chunky orange wheels on one end and then these teeny tiny wheels on the other. On every other robot lawnmower I've reviewed, the big wheels are the back wheels. But on this one, they're the front wheels. So I didn't know. So I was trying to drive it backwards and it was like, nope, error, can't go. So anyway, I finally figured it out. It was a funny to me, but this is super easy product once you know what you're doing. When you review
them enough, right? I mean, you had that turned over. You can see it's got the razor blade cutters on the bottom. It's good size from that perspective. Leading into this, we were talking about the battery technology, kind of, the group's batteries. All these robot lawnmowers, the battery's kind of built in. There's no way to replace that, right? For the most part. In all the work that you've done, do you ever wish you would go with a mower where it had replaceable batteries just in case, or has that ever been an issue in what you're doing?
100%. I just posted a video last week, which was my 3-year update to the Husqvarna auto mower that I reviewed 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And one of the major pain points for me after having owned it for 3 years is that the battery life is just no longer there. Yeah. Now, with that said, I think actually Husqvarna, because it has that sort of dealer network and you can access, shops to take it into and get repairs made or upgrades or whatever. I actually do think I could probably replace the battery in that one. But since I had the opportunity to review the Segway Navimow I-110 is the exact model of it. I just thought, you know what, I'm gonna park the Husqvarna and take this one for a spin.
For sure.
And this to me is the future of robot lawn mowing. It just makes so much more sense. It sees everything. It knows where it's going. It also uses essentially satellite GPS to position itself in your yard. So it always knows where you are, where it's cutting. You can divvy up your lawn into different zones. And then one of the things I actually really love about it is every week it'll cut the lawn in a different direction. So, week 1, it'll cut it kind of north-south. Week 2, it'll cut it east-west. And then week 3, it'll cut it on a diagonal. Yeah. And I love nothing more than standing in my window with my cup of coffee in the morning, watching the little Segway Navimow cut perfect rows straight across every time. And that's actually a pain point of those wired lawnmowers is they essentially bump around inside a giant playpen. They're not smart. They can't see where they are. They just bumble around the yard until they hit a boundary and turn around and come back. So they'll cut your lawn and they'll do a good job because they're kind of covering all of the space at some point eventually. But the technology in these newer mowers, this one and the Ecovacs Goat, which I also reviewed earlier this season, they are just so much smarter, and it's just mind-blowing how good a job they can do with almost no input from you.
Yeah, they just do it. Gavin had mentioned last week the next phase of these robot lawnmowers is LiDAR. So instead of first we had wires, then we got GPS, and now I think the next version's LiDAR, right? Where it can actually kind of see. The mapping's getting really good. And like you say, for you, the difference was it just kind of learns the space. And then, for a while we had to take them around the edges of the space, right? Right. And now they kind of learn the edges of the space. And then it's like, okay, we're good. And you can go in on your phone and make an adjustment if you want to, or say, no, don't go over there, or mark some of them out. I did notice, I've been following the Yarbos, right? And that, when you think about it, when you think about a piece of yard equipment, that thing it's a tank, right? It does lawns, it does snow blowing. They have edging attachments for it.
That's really, right. I did see that.
It's 5,000. Yeah. What was the retail on the Segway?
I think this one, and I hope I don't get in trouble for saying this, I want to say it was around $2,000 ish. Okay. Yeah. Canadian American. Who knows what she's talking about?
Yeah. Well, listen, this space, you want to be, it's competitive. It's super competitive. Yeah. So you want to make
sure. And it's getting cheaper all the time, and the technology is getting better. So wait till next summer if it's kind of too late in the season for you, and who knows what you'll be able to get by then.
Yeah. Yeah. Bust Out makes an interesting comment and we'll go on this here. He says, let me bring it up. He says, I love the idea, but my gardeners do more than mow. I might replace them with a robot when the robot can pick up after itself and remove all the sticks that fall from me, from the neighbors. I have big trees. I have a big linden, and that just somehow drops more sticks than I would think. How can there be any sticks left up there?
Right.
Like it drops so much. How do I have a tree left after all these sticks are dropped? And there are, it's interesting to think about, we're seeing in the farming industry, we're starting to see some robots that are weeders, right? So they go out and they spot the weeds and then spot spray them or zap them, right? Little heat, a little
laser.
Yeah, zap the weeds. You kind of got to start wondering. You've been doing lawnmowers for a while. You got to start wondering when we might start seeing the convergence of both weeding and mowing. And then what about the big obstacles? What about a branch that that's just because your mower sees a good sized branch and it probably avoids it, I would imagine.
It hasn't really encountered anything big. Okay. We've got a weeping birch and it'll run over those like small little bits. But I think you're right. Like we've also seen technology in robot vacuums anyway. iRobot, I think it is, has a vacuum robot that actually has an arm that will reach out the top and can pick up socks and move it out of the way and clean around it.
That's great.
So it does not surprise me if a year or two from now, your robot lawnmower has the little reaching arm and it can move the stick or whatever is in the way and just keep cutting right around it.
This year we've had so much wind and so much rain. I mean, I've gotten some good sticks. It'd be great if I had a stick mode, and it would be like, don't mow, just go out and find all the sticks, put them in a corner somewhere. Yeah. Clean that thing up. One more comment on that. The Yarbo also now is offering, because it's a big unit, blades. So like not 22-inch blades, but more like 8-inch blades, but they're still blades, right?
Yeah.
Thinking about mowing in your situation, you're probably not mowing the thickest grass all the time, right? I mean, you're coming at it from a pretty maintained standpoint.
I would say so. I mean, first of the year, it's usually the grass is pretty green and lush. And then usually in Calgary, I mean, the heat gets to be enough that it kills off most of the grass by August. Although we've had torrential rain this year for about the last month almost straight. So the lawns are pretty lush. Yeah. And the other thing that I ended up doing with this mower, just to see what it would do, is I set it up to do my neighbors' yards too. So it'll do the neighbors on either side as well. So none of us is cutting the lawn this summer, though the lawns keep growing. So I think I'm a hit in the neighborhood.
Way to win friends and influence people.
Right? I only do it for neighbors I like.
Hey, is it okay? Can we set up can you open your gate for me so that my robot lawnmower can come in and get the lawns mowed? That's great. In all the work that you've done, if someone's thinking about buying one of these, what are a few things you would think about before you buy one? Like what's for you? You mentioned wires. I think most of them are wireless now at this point, but in some of the work that you've done, what's some advice before you buy, do you think?
I would say there's some lawn robots now, and I'm thinking, I think it's the Ecovacs Goat, has a dual array, so a dual cutting array. So it's got 6 blades on 2 flywheels instead of just a single flywheel with 3 blades. So depending on your lawn and how much it grows, that might be a consideration. Yeah. I also think that, again, depending on your yard, some of them can climb slopes better than others. So that's something you'll have to watch for. Yeah. And then the other consideration is total area size. So how big is your yard? Because some of them, and I've been told that I think it's the Segway, some of my viewers told me, it actually will throttle it up to a certain point. So I think the one I have is a 1/4 acre size. So that if I tried to cut more than a 1/4 acre total, it would just say, no, we're not going to do it.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, well, why would you do that? Like, what difference does it make? And my sense of it is that the battery capacity just wouldn't be able to handle it. So it would kind of get out and start cutting and maybe get too far and die before it could get back to its base station to recharge. Maybe. So depending on how big your yard is, there are only certain robots and brands that can handle much bigger spaces. Yeah. So it kind of all comes down to your particular space and what you're going to use it for. I've got a pretty small, pretty flat yard, so it's pretty easy for me. And obviously I haven't had a lot of problems. I haven't been able to challenge these mowers too much, but yeah.
Well, my backyard would be a robot lawnmower dream. Pretty easy. It's intricate, but it's all the spaces have bumpers, so it would bump around and find its things and get it done. That would be easy. The front yard is a challenge. Zoysia grass, so it's Bermuda style. It's a carpet. You could sleep on the thing. It's more comfortable than most, right? I mean, most mattresses. But it gets thick, and it's a lawn. Like, it is beautiful this time of year. I also have a really steep drop off on one of the hills, so I would need to either fix that and I always think like, well, okay, maybe I just mow that section, and then like, well, it's only 20 minutes to mow it if I'm like, I want it to do it all, right?
Yeah.
Type thing.
Yeah.
So if anybody's got a super strong mower that they want to send me to try on my very challenging lawn, Jim at theaverageguy.tv will give it a shot on the
and report
on the
back,
yard.
please.
Yeah. Well, on all the demos I've seen, they're always doing it with bluegrass or pretty tame lawns for the most part. And I'm like, man, send that thing onto my Zoysia. I don't know. That's now there would be a great advantage to for it to be able to mow every other day or even every day in some regards, right? Because it's made your heat and our heat and the moisture we've both been getting. I mean, we're basically in the kind of the same kind of zone. It's going to get a little colder for you before us, but that lawn thrives in that kind of scenario, and so it'd be tough to mow it. So good. Well, check that out. Again, I'll put the link in the show notes if you want to go out and watch that video, if you want to check it out. You've got the next one I want to look at is a true like automotive gadget as we think about inflators and jump starters, which remember the old days of jump starting your car where you get some cables and track a buddy down. Hey, can you come jump my car?
Beg someone in a parking lot.
Yeah, that's gone, right? I mean, talk a little bit about this.
Yeah, these are gadgets I didn't know I needed until I had them. And with the trailer that I bought, that I mentioned earlier, it's actually come in really handy. So this is a newer company, newer brand, I guess, called Strauto, and they make a universal tire inflator and a jump starter. So these jump starter products have actually been around for a few years. I used to have one, and it was a dream for my older car. It got stolen out of my car one day and I never replaced it.
Oh no.
So when this one landed, I was like, oh, thank goodness I've got, another option. And the genius thing about this is it's essentially a small battery pack with two of those, claw clips that you just attach to your battery cables or your battery. What do you call the battery terminals? Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. The terminals. And then you turn it on and it'll jump your battery for you. So you don't need the long cables. You don't need to park the other car in such a way that you can reach both cars' batteries. It's such a smart and handy gadget to have. And I think you get a handful of jumps out of each full charge. So you can keep it in your car if you should ever need it. And yeah, I mean, just such a useful, handy gadget. And one of those things that I think is a good gift for people because you never know you're going to need that until you need it. And then you're hooped, right? So if you've got something like that that's just stashed in the back of the car, make sure it's charged up every few months, maybe. The one I've got, the Strauto one, seems to hold a charge fairly well. And dead simple to use. I mean, even somebody who's not comfortable using cables or whatever can use this. It will tell you if you have them connected correctly. So I know a lot of people are paranoid about connecting the positive and the negative and not sure which way to do it. So it'll tell you if you've got it connected correctly. And if you don't have it connected correctly, it won't actually issue the charge. So that's pretty smart.
Yeah. We've gotten a lot better on the battery technology. Bust Out mentions in chat, his concern is leaving a lithium battery in a hot car. And I definitely would not leave this on the windows side of the car. Now, there's not that much difference between the compartment of the car where you sit in and the trunk, but right. I would try to keep these things in the rear. I am sure, listen, they've been tested, to make sure they can withstand those temperatures. But yeah, no, it's a concern for sure, keeping a battery in there. Jim Shoemaker says, I own one of these jump starters just to be sure. Check the charge every 4 to 6 months because you never know there could be a phantom charge that comes off this, and it doesn't take
that
long.
heat or extreme cold can potentially affect them too.
Yeah. And I'd recommend actually after you've used it, just charge it. Like it's probably one of those
good practice.
You say 3 or 4, and it probably is true. But if you've jumped it, 1, figure out why you needed to jump it, and then 2, charge the thing, right? But you never know on older cars. It's also handy. As I looked at the design, it's kind of bulletproof. With the when you were always jumping with somebody else, you're like, okay, negative first, positive first, right? And this opportunity, put them on. That most new cars now actually have separate, like lugs for this, for this purpose. Stick them on, hit the boost button, and then crank that thing over. I've even seen them where you can plug them into the cigarette lighter. Not that we have those anymore. Nobody knows what they are. They're phone chargers.
Right.
Right.
Power port.
Yeah. Nobody knows, like cigarette lighters. Like
I called it that the other day and I was like, ooh, that's probably politically incorrect now.
You're probably right. Nobody knows what they are. They're just barrel chargers, right? But they're still in cars. Speaking of that, you're showing you also talking about an inflator. Let me bring that in.
Yeah.
And because these are 2 nice things to have in your car, like your emergency kit, right?
Essentially,
you would have a jump, you would have this, you might have some of those foldable cones, kind of, right? Some of those, maybe a first aid kit. This comes in handy when your tires go flat. Talk a little bit about this.
Yeah, so I was super glad to have this for my new trailer because the trailer that I bought, the tires were basically cracked and falling apart. So I had to use the inflator several times. And the great thing about this is, again, portable and wireless. So you can just bring it back to where you are and connect it. It's got different attachments for car tires, for bike tires, and for inflating all those other things that we all have, across the summer, air mattresses, pool floaties, that kind of stuff too.
Yeah.
And simple to use. It's got a handful of presets as well. So depending on what you need to inflate, you can kind of key in a preset for it. And it will.
Is that the camper? Sorry to interrupt. Is that the camper? Did we just see that?
Yeah. Did you see it?
Hold on. Let's go. Yeah, you've got a little bit of work to do on this thing.
1978, Jim, is the age of this camper trailer.
You've got. It's like I saw it for a second and now it won't show it to me.
I should have sent you some video. You're like,
oh, that's all right. So yeah, it looks, the tires. I see that your tires. Yeah, I hope
they're
you got
cracked
a good deal
and bald.
Yeah.
They've since been replaced. So
okay,
that was pretty much the first thing I had to do on them because I was like, I am not comfortable driving this. But I did use the inflator on them a couple times because I wanted to, drive it around or move it, repark it, that kind of thing. You can also use this inflator while it's plugged into that barrel charger adapter. But the thing is, the cord's it's only long enough to do a vehicle that it's plugged into. So it would reach my back tires, which you can kind of see if you're watching on the YouTube feed, but it's not long enough to reach back to the trailer. So you definitely need the wireless, the battery option to use it back there. And I think I inflated all 4 tires once, and that basically ate up most of the battery, if I remember correctly. So do need to recharge it after that. And you can't use this inflator while it's like plugged in to a wall or, to an outlet to recharge, but you can use it while it's plugged in to the barrel, if that makes sense. So just a caveat about that. But so glad I have these.
AC charges it, but DC will run it.
Exactly.
Coming off the car. Okay.
You put it much more eloquently than I did.
I've been doing a lot. I've been working on solar power. All of a sudden my AC DC chops are coming back up to speed. You get a bunch of adapters with it. I do like kind of the set it. I'm assuming you can set it, say, take the tire to 37 PSI.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
It'll get
you can dial it in manually if you need to. It's just I can't say enough good things about it. like I said, it's a newer brand, but I really appreciate the form factor, and everything comes in cases that keep all of the bits and parts and adapters and, everything you need with it contained in the case. So I really appreciate those design elements from these products. And yeah, they're out in our SUV right now. And next time we take the trailer out, I've got confidence knowing we've got emergency supplies.
Yeah, it's nice they're nice to have just from the set it and forget it. I have I bought an air compressor that's let's say it's portable in the fact that I can pick it up. It's one of the pancake style. You'd use it for an air gun or some of those kinds of things. And it's super handy. I've never bought a tire pressure gauge filler thing that ever worked very well for me.
Yeah.
I'm always still guessing on the tire pressure. I'd love it. I love the feature on this where you just say, hey, put it at 37 or put it at 35. It takes it right up to it. You don't have to worry about it. Right.
Yeah.
That's kind of the nice thing about these. Jim Shoemaker says it's called a 12-volt power outlet, but none of them have the actual cigarette lighters in them anymore. That's true. That's totally
12-volt power outlet. Okay.
Appreciate that.
Our age is showing, Jim.
I know we've been doing this for a while. Bust Out says I got a small portable compressor and tried inflating my tires on an old truck, and it just died so fast that I never finished inflating them because I got tired of running back and forth to charge. Right. So make sure you're in his advice. Don't get a small one. Did you feel like this one looks pretty hefty? Did you feel like it's got good, good worth out of the size?
I do. Like I said, I think earlier, I did have to inflate all 4 tires a little bit. And I think honestly, for most people, like if you've got a low tire, you're probably not going to have 4 low tires. So it should be more than enough to do 1 or 2 before you need to recharge it. So I think it's good for what you'd need it for. And even when I kind of pushed it beyond what were probably its limits, it still delivered for me. So I was pretty happy with it.
Would you just leave it in the back of one of your cars? Does this go in the garage and you take it with you if you're having problems, or what do you think?
I've been keeping it in the back of our SUV. I mean, Calgary doesn't usually get that hot to start with. It does get pretty freaking cold in the winter.
Yeah.
So that is something I would want to, like was said earlier, take it out every few months and make sure it's got a full charge and the battery's doing okay with any extreme temperatures. But for now, it's been out in the car all summer and it seems fine. So,
okay. Tony Rayner says, he goes, I carry a plug kit, inflator, and a AAA card.
Also smart.
Yes, it's very, very, very handy. I remember changing a tire. I think the last time I changed a tire, I was maybe 30, right? And it's been a long time since and not that I've called AAA. I've had AAA the whole time, but I just haven't had a flat tire in a long time.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to change a flat tire again. I'm not interested. No, not. I'm going to call someone.
With run flats, I think it's a lot less of an issue too these days, right?
Yeah. Well, and Jim Shoemaker says in chat, he says, more cars don't have spare tires, right? Or adequate spare tires. You get that little tiny donut that you're like, don't go over 5 miles an hour on this thing, right? He says, unfortunately, so an inflator and a can of patch goo is necessary, right? Sometimes throw that in there. Now, the mechanics hate those things. Like, you take a tire in, you've put that stuff in it, you better give them
they want you to replace it. Yeah.
They are not gonna like that. Well, I think some good car tech. I think everybody's kind of got their things. I'd love to hear about those things. Drop those in the comments on YouTube. Send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv. I'd love to hear what your emergency car tech stuff is. And I want to ask the question, do you carry a first aid kit or not? When I lived in Germany, we were required as part of the military in those days. And I think it's German law that you have to carry a first aid kit with you. In the US, we don't do that. Do you? Send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv. Erin, do you have a first aid kit in your trunk?
I have one in the camper van and one in the trailer, but not one, now that I'm thinking about it, in the SUV. And friends of ours borrowed our camper van, and actually we've got a fire extinguisher in there too, which I put it in because I was like, why not? They rolled up on a car fire and ended up having to use the fire extinguisher to put out a car fire by the side of the road and help someone out. So
good idea.
Another good, important thing to keep with you that, again, you never know when you're going to need it, but you'll sure be glad when you have it.
I know. I should get one. I should get a car. They have car versions of them. I should get a car extinguisher. We just put them in the house. So I've got one down here in the basement around all this electronic gear in case a lithium battery catches fire for whatever reason. And then we have one in the kitchen, but man, a car would be a super good place to have a fire extinguisher from that standpoint. Okay, good. All right. I'm intrigued by your headline. You said, I bought some blinds, but I didn't put them on the windows. Tell me, what exactly does that mean?
So I had the opportunity to review a new washer dryer. And when I took out my old washer dryer, they were stacked. And when I was going to put the new washer dryer in, I was like, man, there's all kinds of ductwork and plugs and ugly stuff in the background. And now my laundry room doesn't really look that great. So coincidentally at that time, Smart Wings reached out to me and said, hey, would you like to review some of our blinds? And I was like, do they have to go on the windows? Because I kind of got this idea in my head that I wonder if the blinds could just sort of be placed in front of the wall to hide all of that laundry room ductwork. So I measured, it's actually really easy to order blinds nowadays. You just put in the measurements online, make a whole bunch of selections in terms of color and, how you want them to look, how you want the finished product to look. They arrive in the mail. You unbox them, you attach brackets into either the window frame if they're going in windows. For me, it went into the laundry room ceiling. And, pair them up to Alexa or whatever your smart assistant is. And you've got full automated control over these blinds. And I love it. It cleaned up my laundry room so well. Put the focus kind of on these nice new Midea laundry machines that I ended up putting in the laundry room. And the great thing is I can talk to Alexa and have her raise them if I want to get at the soap or whatever's back there. I've got a drying rack back there, so I can just ask Alexa to raise them and then hang up my stuff to dry. And then when everything's done, they come back down and they hide all of that ductwork, all of the plugs, all the connections, all the electrical. And I'm just so happy I did this. It makes such a difference in the laundry room. And yeah, kind of an unusual use case for smart blinds, but I love it. And if you want to check out, it's kind of hard to imagine what I'm talking about. So if you want to go check out the video, there's 2 videos that this relates to. You'll see them in my review of the Midea washer dryer that's on the YouTube channel right now. And there's a dedicated video for the Smart Wings Smart Blinds on youtube.com/Erin Lawrence TV as well.
And I got the link in the show notes. I threw it out in the chat room if you want to go watch it right now. Jim Shoemaker in chat said he watched it, the blind video. Interesting use case for sure. Do you got RGB lighting behind there as well? Did you put some backlighting on that? Is that what I saw?
Guilty, Your Honor. Yes, I also did that. Because when I put the blinds in, it kind of looks like, there could be windows back there, right? Because they're blinds. And I thought, it would be nice if I could get some lighting back there, because then I could set it to look like, daylight, or to adjust to daylight, or just to put a nice warm color back there. So I did do that. And it actually gives it kind of a really nice glow that does kind of make it look like a window as well. Yeah. So
in the video, you got 3 different sizes, right? So you're covering kind of the sink, and then there's the washer and the dryer, and you could have different, you could size these differently, and then you could actually control them individually. So what I would think, like if you have a shelf that just has a ton of stuff on it, right? And
Yes, clutter.
we've all got those shelves, right, that are just full of crap.
Yep.
And you could just run one of those blinds, and then when you need it, and Alexa, sorry, A lady enabled. Sorry, friends. A lady enabled, right? So you could tell it, are each one of these, do they have their own name? Can you control one of them without the other? So I could, if I want to get to the soap that I'm trying to hide on the shelf, I could just raise one, right?
Yeah, you can set it up in both ways. You name them individually, so you can voice control them individually, or there's a remote you also get with it, so you can use that. Or you can then group them through the A Lady app, and open them all together or close them all together as well. And it works really, really well. I just think it's so smart, and so I'm patting myself on the back there. I think it looks smart. What a great idea, Erin. You're such a genius.
So no, it's a great use case. I never would have thought of using blinds. Now, listen, they're not the cheapest thing in the world, right? You could probably get away with standard blinds too if you want to do it that way. But I never thought about covering up ugly walls. Especially in a situation where you might need to get to them on a more regular basis than I'm never going to see. I never want to see these walls. Yeah. You know, maybe it's twice a year, maybe it's 3 times a year, and you're thinking, I got to get back there for whatever reason. Zoop, the wall disappears.
Well, that's why I wanted smart ones, Jim, because I thought I could just hang up like, shades from Costco or Walmart or wherever. But I knew that as soon as I put them up and like you crank them up and you leave them there, I would never put them down again, because then why? Whereas if I can walk into the laundry room, ask a lady to open the blinds, do what I got to do, put the soap in, do things, grab my laundry, and then ask her to close them as I'm walking out the door, it's just so much easier and more convenient for me. And the other thing that I really, really wanted to do, I mean, some people out there are probably thinking like, it's a laundry room, get over yourself. And yes, fair and true. But I did get these really nice Midea washer dryer pair, and they're really nice looking. Like, appliances these days are really,
I know,
taking more kind of design forward.
I know. There's spaceships. There's spaceships.
They make coffee. I really wanted, not yet, but maybe.
Maybe someday.
I really wanted the focus to be on those machines, and just for that to be the thing that I look at and admire when I walk into that room. And where the door is in that room, that's the other thing. The first thing you walk in, normally you see all of those ducts and connections. And I just thought, again, these are not the world's problems to solve, but in my smart home, I didn't want to have to look at the ductwork, and I had the power to make change in my life. So I did.
I'm looking at my laundry area now, and I'm kind of like, oh, maybe we'll put some smart blinds over, because I have that same kind of situation, and I've painted it, but the pipes come down and it's not the most attractive thing in the world. And you're like, well, okay. Bust Out says he would call his, I don't know what you named yours, but he said he would call mine bay doors and then tell the A lady, open the bay doors.
Good one.
Yeah. And then it would say in that voice, I can't do that, Dave. You gotta know 2001.
Should have given them smarter names.
Yeah. No, names. It's but from the smart blind space, you just mentioned this. We kind of glossed over it, but the ability to order smart blinds in whatever size you want, there's never been a better time to do this, right? Than right now. You can get with these companies, order them. What's the name of this? Where did you get these again?
Those were from Smart Wings, but I've also reviewed from a brand called Somfy a couple of years ago, and I have those. I have the Somfy version in our living room, my office, and our bedroom as well. And Somfy can be a little finicky to program, and when things change, they're a little less intuitive. I've found the Smart Wings to be pretty responsive, so I think the technology and the user interface of a lot of smart blinds could improve all the way around.
Yeah.
They're still a little nerdy, maybe is the word for it. But yeah, long way to go.
You're talking to the right audience for that.
That's right.
If there's anybody that could
my
figure
fellow
out
nerds.
nerdy, yes, figure out nerdy. It's this. I think one of the areas we don't think about enough on smart blinds is during the summer, when sun comes up and it's blaring in the windows, of bringing shade to the house from an automatic. I've been doing a whole bunch of solar work over the last couple of weeks, and thinking about the timing of solar panels, like when is the solar potential the greatest, and then what do I do during that time? With shades, you want to do the opposite. When's the solar potential the greatest? How am I going to prevent that from getting into my house? Right. And those shades can kind of morph with, bring that morning sun in if that's what you like. And then at a certain time, and depending on the shade, you can kind of program it to be like, follow this with the season, or there's some integrations you can put in with those. I think we underestimate
you can get solar sensors as well. The Somfy ones, I had one of them in place for a little while, and then I was just like, I'd rather control it myself. But you can set up a solar sensor in those windows, and when it detects I'm not quite sure, I don't remember if it's sort of the heat or the light, but when it gets to a certain detection point, it goes, okay, it's too sunny, and it'll put the blinds down for you automatically. And then when the sun disappears from that area, it'll open the blinds up again. So, I mean, that technology is there for sure. And, especially if you're in a place that you don't have air conditioning, like that can go a long way.
For sure. Yeah. Getting it dark. Although if in Tony's case, he says blazing hot outside and my wife will still throw open all the blinds because she says she doesn't want to live in a cave. Well, live in a cave for the solar bright spots of the day, then open them up in the mornings or the evenings, to get that, to say, hey, maybe it's not smart if we have the sun blaring in our windows at the hottest part of the day. So now some good stuff. We don't talk enough about blinds here. That is one of those things I think we could maybe talk more about. You said they're nerdy, and they have been hard, like in years past, they've been hard to work with. Like you almost had to, they were like, well, it's like lighting for a while. You had to hire a professional to come in and put your lighting in. Yeah. Now we can do most of that. I think shades are going to get the same way here, where
they're always improving. I mean, that's the great thing about technology is, today's blinds are not going to be tomorrow's blinds. And you can say that about robot lawnmowers and a lot of other things we've talked about tonight.
For sure. For sure. Okay. Maybe the last thing that we do here, but I think it's super important. I alluded to this because I said it's something about your washer making coffee, but seriously, coffee makers are now making soft serve. What is going on here, Erin?
Not what is quite happening? The coffee maker making soft serve, but that is the Ninja Swirl by Creami, which is an at-home soft serve ice cream maker. So this is Ninja's follow-up to what was called the Creami last summer, which made, they called it frozen desserts. It would kind of whip up fruit or, frozen ice milk or whatever and make desserts for you. But this one will not only do that same frozen dessert making, it will also press out soft serve for you. And this is fun. I mean, if you've got kids or you are an ice cream lover, you probably want one of these. It's a lot of fun. It's really easy to use once you understand what you're doing. There's sort of a two-part process to this. You've got to freeze your ingredients in a bowl, a special bowl, they call it. And then on one side of the machine is it's almost kind of like a food processor attachment. So it will whip that frozen dessert or ice cream or whatever it is to an edible consistency, I guess you could say. And then phase two, I mean, you can eat the ice cream at that stage if you want to, but if you want to press it into soft serve, you attach it to the other side of the machine, and then it's sort of got this almost like a plunger press, and it will press the ice cream out through a star-shaped nozzle in the front, and you've got instant soft serve. So we had a lot of fun testing this. Shucks, we had to make ice cream.
Bummer.
Almost every day. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, it makes actually really good soft serve ice cream. And Ninja will give you a recipe book that's kind of got some starter ideas. And because you need sort of a certain consistency of the mix in order for it to actually come out properly as soft serve ice cream, following the recipes is a pretty good idea, which I did. And we got some great results. It was a really fun gadget to try. The ice cream was good. The recipes I tried were great. And it took me back to the time in high school when I worked at an ice cream shop and you had to actually get that swirly spin on the cone, which is an art form. And I've apparently lost my touch because it was not easy.
Not as much. Okay. Oh, you got it. Like, look at the screen for a second. Does that not look like a coffee maker?
It does look like a coffee maker. Yeah.
No,
it's
look at that. Like that is
the buttons and the panel on front.
Yeah. No, right on. Bust Out says in chat, he says he loves his Creami. Is that how you pronounce it?
Creami. Yep.
Creami. He says, lets me make lactose free ice cream, which is
yeah.
Great opportunity.
That's a great point. You can, depending on the recipe you use, you can do dairy-free, lactose-free, just straight up fruit whip, that kind of thing. There's all sorts of different settings. Frozen custard, which is a little more like an ice cream. So definitely options for people that maybe might be a little more limited in what they can actually have.
It's a coffee maker. Look at that thing. Okay. And then Jim Shoemaker says, oh man, that ice cream looks very dangerous to me. And then Bust Out says, oh, I don't have the counter space for the new one, but I want one.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It is a bigger and heavier machine. And one of the kind of downsides is it's loud to operate. And it usually takes, I think it took about 5 to 7 minutes or so for it to whip the ice cream in that first stage that I was talking about. And then it'll sort of press it in the next stage, and that happens much quicker. But it's not instant, but it is fast, if that makes sense.
It's good. I took it off the screen. You were just showing the chocolate one, and I was like, oh, that looks that. So what's a retail on something like this, do you think?
Oh, I don't remember, Jim. I should have looked that up. I should have known better. I want to say it's around 200 and something.
Oh, that's not terrible.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Especially for an
don't quote me on that.
Yeah, especially for an automated ice cream maker. And you're right. I think about the time with my kids. This is when, I don't know if we do a lot of this now. I mean, I barely eat the ice cream that we buy from the store that I just scoop out, right? But it with the kids, it'd be a fun thing to do. I bet you get 3 or 4 summers out of something like this where you're using it all the time, and I think that probably makes it worth it from that standpoint.
Well, the other thing that we haven't talked about yet, and I think, am I putting that up later this week, is I got a slush maker.
Oh.
So Ninja also makes a slushy machine, which, speaking of dangerous, is very dangerous. And again, sadly, I had to make slushy drinks and slushy cocktails and have a lot of fun with that, every night for a week or two. So that was another fun machine.
You talked about a portable on your site, a portable carbonated water maker as well. You can take with you. So like you're getting kind of frou-frou on all, like, how are you going to live during the apocalypse? Like, how is this going to work?
Everybody will come to my house for ice cream. I will have all of the tools for everything, and you will all come here and we will have ice cream. So that's how we will survive the apocalypse.
Yeah. And then one more review you did. I want to point folks to your site for this, and I'll throw the link while I'm thinking about it. You give me a quick review on this, but you are reviewing cars. I don't like what is happening, Erin. You got a CX-50 hybrid review. Just give us a quick overview on that. I'll put the link out so folks can head out there and
I got to try out a Mazda. Fun fact: Mazda was my first car that I bought with my own money, and I've got a lot of affinity for the brand. So I had the opportunity to take one of their hybrid vehicles, hybrid SUV, out on the road for a week, and really had a cool experience with it. I've talked before about how I'm kind of new to electric vehicles and hybrid vehicles, and I don't have a ton of experience with them. So I think I'm kind of always surprised when the power is there, and you can really drive these vehicles like every other vehicle. So it was super comfortable. It was very fun to drive. I was really impressed with it. But yeah, check out the full review on Erin Lawrence TV on YouTube if you want to learn more about it. Yeah. And there's a few other car reviews that I've checked out as well. Rivian was one of the more recent ones, which I had a phenomenal experience with. And I think a Lexus before that. So that's been kind of fun. The crossover between technology and vehicles.
Yeah. Well, they're the same thing now.
Kind of amazing. Yeah.
Cars are just gadgets.
Makes sense.
Yeah. They are just gadgets. Now, this was a hybrid, so not full electric, but a hybrid, kind of a hybrid. In the old days, the hybrids were neither good. They like they didn't take advantage of the electric side of things, and their engines weren't very big. Did you feel or sense at all? Did it have good pickup? Do you feel like, I mean, my last hybrid was in 06, so it's been 20 years. Okay, yeah. Right. Do you feel like it's gotten better?
Yeah. The Mazda and the Rivian that I took out, I was quite impressed with how much getup they had and how much pep and, thing for passing, or if you ever have to make a sudden fast maneuver. I perhaps, because I didn't know, I wasn't expecting them to have quite as much pickup. And I was really impressed with how, the Mazda and the Rivian were able to perform.
It'll be interesting to see, as the US kind of starts to give back its gains on full electric vehicles. And we have an administration that's favoring kind of getting back into the gasoline space. But the hybrid space, it'll be interesting to see where all this lands, so to speak, what it comes up with. Certainly, you can still purchase full electric vehicles. You can purchase still full gas vehicles. You can get hybrids, as you're seeing here. Do you have a preference at this point? You've gotten an opportunity to do both or all three. You have a preference?
I have two caveats about electric vehicles. And one is the weather in Calgary and the weather in most of Western Canada in the winter. It is extremely cold here, minus 35, minus 40, which is, I think, both the same Celsius and Fahrenheit, is not uncommon.
Comes together.
Yeah. So it gets damn cold here. And I would be really concerned about the battery performance on a regular basis. So that's one major consideration for me. I haven't had the chance to sort of try out a vehicle long-term through the winter to see what the actual reality is like. If any car brands want to loan me an electric vehicle for the winter and we'll find out together, happy to do that.
Yeah.
But the other consideration for me is, and I found this with the Rivian, is that I like to road trip, and, Roger and I like to get out and road trip for, a week at a time. And having to stop, potentially every day for up to an hour or 90 minutes to wait for those batteries to recharge, it really cuts into how much distance you can make, what you're going to do for those 90 minutes. You've got to stop. So that I'm not yet sold on.
Yeah.
I think a hybrid, of course, obviously makes that a little better, but yeah, those are kind of two big caveats for me. And I'm, like you said, I'm interested to see where the technology goes and where the automakers go with vehicle technology to see how they can resolve, everyday considerations like that.
Yeah. I've been doing this solar work over the last couple of weeks of thinking, like, is solar viable? And it's easy to say, like, here in Nebraska, electric's pretty cheap. And so it always makes it hard to make solar worth it. And I thought, well, I'm not going to go fully in. I'll just try some things. We'll figure some stuff out, be smart about it. And at one point I had a thought about, maybe I'll turn the shed into a big giant battery, because I can pull all the electric in, house the batteries in the shed. And then I'm like, no, in the winter, that's not going to work. Like I just can't with negative. We don't ever, I mean, negative 40 with wind chills, but we don't, negative 20 is a pretty extreme for us. But that's still pretty cold for batteries, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're just like, well, and then it's like, well, maybe I'll pull up the floor and I'll start burying them. I'll dig you're like,
a bunker.
Okay, Jim, settle down, big guy, settle down. Like you don't need a bunker.
I love it.
Yeah, you don't need a bunker in there, but it's that consideration, right? I mean, for you, batteries are tough in that space because you got to kind of think through. Now, yet I know, I had family grow or live in Montana for a lot of years, and they would plug their vehicles in every night, and maybe that's the solution for a lot of electric vehicles is okay, well, you're going to plug them in anyways. Well, then maybe the self heaters need to, for those climates,
make a comeback.
Make something along those lines, and we figure those things out. Jim says electricity is cheap too in Nebraska. We're 12 cents a kilowatt hour. It's tough to justify at any solar price. Peter had sent me an email when I talked about solar last week, and I thought I'd bought the panels at 50 cents a watt. And I thought that was a pretty good price point. I think I can get them even a little bit cheaper, especially if I go a little bit used. Hey, on your new camper, are you going to put solar panels on the roof of that thing, or how are you going to power it?
For right now, shore power. And I did get a single car battery for it, but then I realized I don't have the proper switch, or I forget what it's called. Like I said, I'm new to all this. I would like to put solar on the roof, but I also discovered that the roof might have some structural issues. So the last thing I want to do right now is drill into it.
No, for sure.
So there's a couple other options though. I've found some power banks actually. No, portable power stations, I think they're called, that are actually strong enough to power an RV. And you can buy, solar panels that recharge those portable power stations. So I thought, rather than mounting something on the roof, if I can get one of these power stations and a solar panel kit, I can actually just plug the RV, or the trailer rather, straight into that box, and it should run for 24 to 48 hours. I'm not running much load off of it, but I think I'm going to go that route instead before I try attaching stuff to the roof, because anybody who owns a trailer knows they're finicky.
Yeah, and you're driving with them and the rattling, and there's a lot to be said in your scenario about having a couple 400-watt portable panels that you pull in, throw them out. You can position them. They're easy, right? They're portable. They don't have to survive the elements all the time. You're not permanently putting them somewhere, and so you pay a little bit more for those, and they don't last quite as long. But they also don't live through the torment. They're out when you're camping. Right. Basically.
Yeah.
Right?
You're taking them in if it gets windy, that kind of stuff.
No, right on. Yeah. You have complete control over them, and they can charge that, and you can also plug in and recharge those This is the great part about solar generators or power packs or whatever you want to call it. The even in the years, I bought a Blue Eddy AC 180 that's got 1,000 kilowatt hour battery in it, and solar chargers 500 watts. What I paid for that now, I could get double or triple that on everything, right? And you're kind of like, okay, so now is the time thinking about, it's just today I was thinking about, well, maybe it's time to upgrade to an EcoFlow. I can get 3 times the charge capability coming in on solar. I can get 4 times the storage, and I can get it for nearly the same watt hour price that I bought this for. And you're like, okay.
Another great example of technology that keeps coming down in price and keeps getting better at what it's doing, for sure.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. Anything coming up at Tech Gadgets International? I want to make sure I get that right. Tech Gadgets International. Anything coming up you want to highlight before I let you go?
I'm working on a review of a Lenovo yoga book that's going to be coming up. I'm looking around my room here. I've got a new Samsung smart monitor. Their new monitor line doubles as a TV and kind of a entertainment screen, in addition to being
flat. What's the size of it?
Flat, 32 inch. It's up in front of me right now. It's huge. 4K resolution. It's fantastic so far. It's got a built-in webcam which in the pre-show we discovered was not quite working for us. So I'll have to fiddle around with that.
Firmware. Just needs a firmware update. I'm sure it'll be fine.
There's probably a remote for it somewhere around here. So maybe there's a Zoom feature for it. So I'll be doing that review. I reviewed the M8 monitor. I currently have the M9 and I quite liked the M8. I found it to be a way better option, I thought, than something like Apple's smart display. And significantly cheaper too. So interested to see how the M9 turns out. And speaking of Samsung products, I bought myself a new Frame TV. I bought the Frame TV Pro, which is the 2025 fancy version. The Frame TV content that I've done on the YouTube channel has been massive. People love it. So I thought I better find out what's new with the Frame TV Pro. And Jim, there are, I'll say, 7 frustrations I'm having with this TV, to be exact.
Okay.
And there's some considerations, and I'm not happy about it. So that review should be up in the next week or so. If you're thinking about potentially upgrading to a Frame TV from an older one or getting a Frame TV, I think you're going to want to know about this one before you hit add to cart.
Okay. Check it out, techgadgetsinternational.com. Congratulations on that. By the time some folks are listening to this, you may have hit 100,000, but head over to youtube.com/Erin Lawrence TV and subscribe. Let's get her to 100,000 before this is over. And before I let you go, but one more comment. Erin Bust Out says, after talking about the Ninja Creami, I'm now getting ads for soft serve machines at Amazon. Those cookies.
It happens. It happens. And Jim, I should drop one other thing to your audience in particular. I can't say a lot about it yet, but to celebrate my 100,000 subscribers, I'm going to be doing a pretty big giveaway. And I don't just sort of mean one big giveaway. I mean like a days long giveaway of some pretty cool stuff. Nice. Can't talk about it yet, but if any of your audience out there might be interested in winning some of the gadgets or brands that I've reviewed over the last weeks and months, make sure you subscribe to the channel. You can go to Tech Gadgets International to sign up for my newsletter. Those are sort of the ways you can keep up to date on what's going on. That giveaway should roll out in September, just after I cross the 100,000 subscribers threshold. And nothing would give me more pleasure than to see some members of your audience who've been so kind to me win some pretty cool tech. So,
well, we are your biggest fans. We love what you do. There's been some great comments in chat. Jim Schoonover says loves how you do sensible pro and cons in your reviews. And Busta says, I have a frame and love it. I always appreciate you coming on. Listen, if you're going to send us free giveaways, enough smoke already. Okay, we don't need any more smoke. Okay,
no more smoke, more giveaways of free tech.
Just tell the border, like turn fans on or something. Like blow it. The Ontario can have it. We don't need. Ontario could use some smoke, right?
I think they've got their share too. Actually, Southern Alberta right now might be the place that with the least amount of smoke. I don't know how we got lucky, but.
Yeah.
As a Canadian, my apologies to our American friends.
Listen, you live on the Front Range. It's God's country up there. It's just beautiful in what you're doing. And so, Erin, always great to have you on. Thanks for coming in. I'll let you go and I'll close up the show. Thanks for coming on. Congratulations on 100,000 and let's go for 1 million.
Thanks so much, Jim. Great to talk to you, and I'll see you soon.
You bet. Have a great evening. Thanks for coming on, Erin. Take care. Couple reminders on the way out. A couple things here to remind you of. Don't forget, you can contact the show. We talked about a few things earlier. Send me an email. Peter sent me an email. Peter, thanks for the email. That was the graphic we showed a little bit earlier that had the power tool families, or mafia, if you want to say it that way, on there. And you can send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv. Always appreciate hearing for you. Tony says in chat, it's Tech Gadgets International now, Tony. She's changed it. You can go to Tech Gadgets Canada if you want. That works too. She's forwarding it. But she's changing her brand to be more international. And so techgadgetsinternational.com for Erin. Always appreciate having her on. Big thanks to Christian over there, the AverageGuy.tv platform, both web and media hosting. Powered by Maple Grove Partners. Get secure, reliable, high-speed hosting from people that you know and you trust. I trust Christian. For more information and for pricing, I think he's still got some $10 plans. I've been working on getting Christian back on the show. They just had a baby, so it's been a slow boat to get him here. Check it out today, maplegrovepartners.com. Join the Discord group, theaverageguy.tv/Discord. And of course, you can always send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv. Big thanks both to our Patreon subscribers. I mentioned this in the beginning, but big thanks to our Patreon subscribers. Appreciate that. I've been doing some solar testing and some work and some thought that'll kind of mix its way into some shows this week. Kind of got everything up and running, and now we're working on getting the home automation part of it working. The Blue Eddy with home automation, that's been a little bit of a struggle. I also bought. I've got them right here. They just came in today. Some tools. These come with the parts, but I ordered a whole bunch of ends. These are MC4 connectors that I'm going to need. I'm pretty sure I've got the wiring figured out at this point, so we're going to be cutting the wiring down. I have a lot more wiring than I need. I bought three 30-foot rolls, and I don't need. There's some spots where I've got most of it rolled up. So we'll be doing some cutting and putting some new ends on and getting some efficiencies in that. I'm going to custom build a frame for the 2 panels that I have so that I can tilt them up at certain degrees during certain parts of the season. I may automate that as well. Just kind of thinking through that. And then just today I had the thought, since the Blue Eddy is not going to work to take in both solar and grid at the same time, maybe I need to pick up the EcoFlow Delta Pro 3, significantly more expensive, $2,700 versus $700. Now that would be actually work as a whole home backup. That has a 30 amp. I could plug that in the case of, I would say, short to long-term backup needs. It could do probably 80% of the house. There's a few things that won't work. I need to plug the generator in to get the extra boost. So I don't know. I'm thinking about it. We're continuing to work through solar. If you've got questions, you can send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv, or comments. Some of the things I'm doing. Listen, I've learned a ton just by forcing myself into the solar space, into the battery space. Been chatting with the AI, the Copilot AI quite a bit to figure out, it's just good to bounce ideas off of. What do I need to think about here? What should I be thinking about there? There's been some complaints about AI and always agreeing with you. And today I got the first, you might want to think about this before you do it. I was super surprised. It actually kind of told me not to do something I was thinking about. I know there's a term for that. I forget what they're calling that, where the AIs are too agreeable. And so you're like, okay, is it always agreeing with me type deal? So I actually got one to disagree with me. Bust Out says, what's the over and under on Jim ending up with a Tesla Powerwall? I would say I'd take the under. I probably won't. I probably wouldn't go that far. Well, you never know. You never know. Here in Nebraska, if power all of a sudden got pretty expensive, I might change my mind. It's just such a break even at this point. Be honest with you, the goal for me is never to completely replace the regular power coming in, but to augment it in some way. I think I have some pretty good opportunities to cover, let's say, 25% of my power bill with solar. So I don't know. See how that goes. If I could run the studio, it's during the day, 500 watts or so. If I could run that full time, that'd be a significant savings. That's a big draw here on what we do every single month. Besides the air conditioning in the summer, there isn't that much. I mean, I guess the dryer and the oven take quite a bit, but those are so sporadic, right? Although it's been pretty hot and we have heat warnings for tomorrow. So the air conditioner is a big draw. We are live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, almost every Thursday. I'm actually taking next week off. We have a Japanese exchange student coming to stay with us over the weekend. And so I will not be recording next week, as we'll be taking care of the student. Lots of things to do with that and activities and make sure they're well taken care of. So I am off next week. The week after that, Jay Franzi is joining me. You know Jay, he's been on before. A good friend of mine is getting married the weekend of August 28th. So I'm out again the 28th for that wedding. And then September 9th, Brian Freelander, I had to move him down to the 4th of September. And then we're into, I might take 9/11 off. I don't know. Maybe, do you podcast on 9/11? I guess I could. Maybe I have in the past even. I don't know. So got some open dates coming up. And for Jim, Tony, Bust Out, I saw Jim Shoemaker. I saw Brian a little bit earlier. Thanks for coming out tonight. Thanks for being in. Joe was checking in a little bit. He checked in a little bit earlier. Thanks for hanging out, being part of the show tonight. Erin, again, big thanks to Erin. Always great to have her. She's got some great stuff going on, and appreciate her and all the work that she does. Head out to Tech Gadgets International. And make sure you subscribe to her YouTube page, youtube.com/Erin Lawrence TV. Make sure you're subscribed there so she can get to 100,000. Thanks for coming out. I'll do a little bit of a post show. If you got any questions, throw them in chat. With that, we'll say goodbye.